We are studying second canto and the second chapter today. So welcome to Krishna Connection Gita study, Bhagavatam study. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This is a beautiful chapter. Somebody likes to start? Vilas Manjari, you want to start?
Yeah. The Lord in the heart. Shukadeva describes how Virata Rupa meditation develops to the point of supersoul realization and how the perfect yogi, freed from all material influence, attains the Lord's abode. He also describes the destinations achieved by yogis who are not free of material desire and how they too eventually achieve perfection. The sage concludes by again glorifying the process of hearing and chanting about Krishna as the best means of elevation. Shukadeva cited the universally revered Brahma as an example of a yogi who had successfully practiced Virata Rupa meditation. The Vedas describe that when he rested at night, both he and the creation entered Vishnu's body. When he awoke in the morning, Brahma recreated the universe.
Okay. This point here, he also describes the destinations achieved by yogis who are not free of material desire and how they too eventually achieve perfection. I really like that point about how Krishna always has a plan for every jiva to progress. This is very against the idea of Christianity, of eternal condemnation, eternal hell, God as a punitive God. Usually that's the Christian concept, and we are contaminated by it as well. Sin and hell, these concepts kind of keep us under the illusion about the Lord's actual purpose for every jiva. So I really like this point. However, they too eventually achieve perfection. So it's like there is hope. There is always hope for everybody. So this is a very important philosophical, theological direction. Please continue.
I have a question. I mean, I have a point to say at this point. I was also thinking now that as you were saying, like, eternal condemnation is not present. Krishna has a plan. I was also getting inspired when I heard that, how we also need to forgive and not hold grudges against anybody who does anything to us, because ultimately Krishna himself is having a plan for everyone to come to him. Who are we to just keep holding grudges and not, forgiving those who sin, what do you say, sin against us or hurt us, whatever, right? Just learning to forgive is like letting go, and it's I feel like I'm in sync with Krishna's plan when I'm able to forgive happily.
So beautifully put. Yes, one thing that has really helped me is being surrounded or being blessed with people who are able to do that. I know one devotee that I closely associate with who is like that. And that really, it's like actually, it's my husband. I see him that he is like, never takes things personally. He's always like, forgiving in the sense he doesn't even take offense. Just like, and whenever I ask him, his explanations are, because he's very Bhagavatam person. He's always studying Bhagavatam and he's dedicated his life to Bhagavatam. So he was saying to me, who do we think we are to judge? And how do we know what Krishna is thinking? A while ago, I had some trouble with somebody and some devotee, and then that devotee has some issues definitely and treats everybody very badly and all that. And then I was feeling really upset and losing it. And then my husband actually said, look, for Krishna, these things are nothing. And if this person really has some mental illness and they're really behaving in a completely out of control manner, Krishna knows that, and he's not actually taking things personally or offending that person. I mean, or taking it as an offense. And it's not that this person has to come back next life to suffer the consequences of what we think is harshness and offense. And even with his own like enemies, he has a lot of enemies. So somebody was very, very, really harsh and did different things like banning him. There is that. But even against that person, he's always like, I don't know what is Krishna's plan for this person. Probably, maybe this person will be forgiven for all the things and they will go back to God at this life. I wish that person to go back to God at this life. Even though this person definitely has like a lot of issues, which I might see as spiritual imperfections, that come on, going back to God, forget it. That would be my attitude. But he really sees everything as, we don't know. Krishna is, he's extraordinary, and his perspective is also. So it's like, and I was like, wow. And when you are in the middle of resentment or guilt or fear, etc., and then you actually see people who can live like that, it's very inspiring. We really want to imbibe that quality, what you exactly explained. Forgiveness, not taking things personally, not judging that this person will suffer or this not go back to Godhead or anything. We don't know, we don't know. Krishna is like, he's a magician. He can take away all our sins. Which was that I was actually reading about just one holy name can just wash away sins of so many lifetimes. Like that, and like that. So we don't know what it is.
One offenseless holy name, probably.
Yeah.
One offenseless holy name.
Actually, I don't know where exactly I was reading. It was really impressive because it didn't even say offenseless. It just said one holy name has that potency, like that. So yeah.
Offenseless will give you love of Godhead. Offenseless will give you love of Godhead. Just even Namabas, one holy name, can more sense than what you can do with
Yeah.
And Mataji, when you were explaining about Kantiya Prophet, it's like, so it's really inspiring to just hear about, his glorious character, to be able to forgive. And when you were saying about that, I was also inspired about how Srila Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, he was always praying. In fact, yesterday also we were talking about it, day before yesterday, and you were saying just pray for them, right? The character defect that we were talking about. And then you said pray for them. And that's exactly what he says. Even if they are doing, if you just pray for them, we are protected. And then, in Krishna's eyes, we, Krishna's, what do you say? His protection will always be there with us when we are wholeheartedly praying for that other person, for their upliftment. And our heart also feels very happy and, calm. And there's so much of solace in praying for them also, right? I feel like that.
Absolutely. I mean, this is not even like, yes, Bhagavatam is, I've been realizing more and more every day we are in touch with Bhagavatam, how applicable these principles are, how transformational it is. And then when you see devotees living by those principles, it's just, I am just in awe, when I see Savitri Mataji or Kantiya Prabhu's ability to live by Bhagavatam, it's really part of them. It's a programming in them. And I wanted to say, there is this author, okay, so her name is Melody Betty. She wrote many books on codependency. Actually, although I've been in touch with Krishna consciousness for several years, I don't know, maybe a couple of years ago, or maybe more, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I bumped into this writing that she says, when somebody is really hurting you, abusing you, all the things, all those bad feelings, and she says, you should pray for them. You should pray. And then she says what to pray for them. And I was just like, it was like mind blowing. She says, wish them good fortune, wish them happiness, wish them, like, really, when you're thinking about all the details that you're wishing for the person, it's excruciatingly painful in the beginning. It's because that person has hurt you so much, and then you are like turning that whole thing into, I wish them that lot of abundance, I wish them happiness, I wish them wealth, I wish them success, I wish, and then she goes on and on, exactly everything you want, you wish for that person. and you pray to God to give that as genuinely as possible. That's the key for your recovery. That is the way you will recover from your bhavaroga, from your material disease. And I was just really taken aback, because as much as we have Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, the culture in our movement is not necessarily that kind of training, unless some souls really take it up, do it. Like you were saying, Bhakti Tirtha Swami, he would exemplify that. He would exemplify those characters. But usually we're not trained that way. We are a little bit still a gossiping moment. We are still a little bit stuck on our opinions, and we are even going to sometimes an extent to speculate what Krishna would do with people, right? And we must see the way, like Taruni was saying, she said it's so liberating, and you said what, fulfilling, you said, right?
Yeah, it's fulfilling, and then your heart feels so much of solace that you're praying for them, and everything just melts away, you feel really happy.
You're fortunate that it happens so easily to you. For me, it came like really hard, meaning it didn't come so easily. Like I said, it was excruciatingly painful in the beginning. To like, she would say it out loud, say it loud. I wish them abundance. And when I would think of certain people that really are have had hurt me or had cheated and whatever, it was so hard to think in that way and wish in that way. But yeah, when we force ourselves, she says, force yourself to pray for that person, force yourself, and then it works. It really works, because it's the Bhagavatam way. That's why it works. Yeah, it
I'm
hurts.
especially finding so much happiness because that principle is coinciding with how this particular point comes, right? That how Krishna has a plan for everyone to go back, even for those who are not even meditating in his personal form. Like, how sweet of Krishna. And then we should also facilitate, be part of his plan, like that, So it's just like reinforcing that
Yeah.
teaching, and Kaunteya Prabhu's example. Like, wow, really wow.
Yeah.
And Mataji, one thing that I realized is because in your Srimad Bhagavatam classes, I'm getting a chance to speak and then say things which I did not even some realizations. I feel Krishna is just inspiring, and so many things are just coming up, which I don't think so would have happened if it wasn't your Srimad Bhagavatam calls,
Well, this is a group study.
Yeah, it's
We're
because
studying together, and whenever we are feeling, anybody feels inspired, we are sharing our thoughts and realizations. This is actually how it's supposed to be done. That's what Rupa Goswami says. We take scriptures, we open our minds, we open our hearts, and we discuss with Guhyam Akheti Prachati. We reveal our minds in confidence that I really, like I was telling you, I really had difficulty to pray for people who hurt me. Usually the tendency is like, let them, maximum I could get to. Once I heard this class by Urmila Mataji, and she was saying you should wish for people to learn their lessons joyfully. And I remember having such great difficulty with that word joyfully, especially for others. And then she says, if you cannot wish for others to learn their lessons joyfully, you cannot learn your lessons joyfully. So I had to change my way of thinking because I wanted to learn joyfully. Then I said, oh, I'll do anything so I can learn joyfully, which meant that I was supposed to wish for others to learn joyfully. And I found it tougher than yours, Taruni. I find it tougher. And probably one of the greatest things that helps us is also that motherhood, the mood of motherhood. Like whenever I'm with kids, when I'm with Gaurangi, when I'm with the kids thing, it comes easily because you see them making mistakes, and then you're like, come on, you don't want to hold back anything. It's very easy to forgive children. And then I've been thinking of adults also. Sometimes some big narcissistic men make some blunders, and the only way that helps me is to think of them as children, because we are all children of God, by the way. And also we are all in a hospital. We are sick, when Prabhupada says, right, we are all in the hospital, we are sick. I sometimes literally, like I have to force myself. Sometimes when people are doing some nonsense, I literally close my eyes. I think of this devotee or some person, and I visualize them with a hospital gown. You know, those when they do when somebody's in the hospital, they have this completely open in the back with all those things, that loose outfit. I visualize that person coming with that dress, and I'm thinking, this person is sick. So there's no point in getting angry. There is no point in resentment. There is no point in, so I look at that person and say, this person is really, really sick. And sometime when that doesn't work, just hospital gown, I'm visualizing them in the ambulance on oxygen. I mean, it's no joke, but visualizing that sense of extreme sickness, that they're unable to behave in a normal way, because if they're on oxygen and they're breathing for life, I cannot be upset with them. So ways and tools to keep ourselves from becoming the God, playing God and judging and thinking of others' sins. Nam Kannadದಲ್ಲಿ we say ಆಡ್ದೋರ್ ಪಾಪ ಮಾಡ್ದೋರ್ ಪಾಪ ಆಡ್ದೋರ್ ಬಾಯಲ್ಲಿ.
Oh my God, my grandmother used to say that so much.
Sorry?
My grandmother used to say that a lot. So she's
Yeah.
like, don't say it. Their thing, they will, they will have to deal with it. You don't have to say it.
So beautiful. Yeah. That's the culture. So this proverb says, people commit sins, right? People all the time commit offenses, atrocities. But the truth, philosophical truth, is that when you speak of sins of others, you get a share in it. You're actually taking a share of their mistakes and their faults and their character defects. So when we are focused on other people's character defects, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says this actually. It's very clearly there that when we criticize somebody else's qualities, we are literally taking their quality and we are reducing their bad quality. And the opposite also, if we glorify somebody for their good quality with a genuine heart, we actually take on the qualities of the other person. So, we should live by these principles if we want to find that solace and peace. And it hasn't been easy for me. I had to learn the hard way. I had to learn the way that I wanted others to wish that for me, because I also make mistakes. Oh yeah, that song is another whole level. Yeah. Vilas Manjari is remembering one bhajan. Oof, it's a far out song, like what? There's a song, it goes something like Ninda karirabeko, irabeku ninda karirabeko. Nindaka means people who criticize. And the bhajan says that when we have people who criticize us, that's the real purification, that's the real advancement, because we are actually not getting puffed up and speculating our qualification.
He says like how pig purifies the dirty pond.
Yeah.
Like that criticizes purify, because you made a point, right? That when we actually see criticism in others, we share it. So I think the people who see criticism in us actually take away part of it. So that's the song. Handi iddare age kere shuddha agutte, like that people will purify. It's scientific.
It is scientific. It's so true. So we become
we take on the characteristic of those we associate with, so that whatever bad things that we are talking about, again we are associating, so we are imbibing that bad thing, correct? And when you spoke about this, like, those who are criticizing criticizing us, they are our best friends actually in this material world. Why? Because they keep us humble. And in fact, like, I just heard in the morning that these pure devotees, they are very happy with those who are actually criticizing them. But the only thing is, the problem is Krishna is not happy with those people, but the pure devotees are. So somebody has asked Radha Maharaj, "Oh, Radha Maharaj, like, pure devotees are so happy if you criticize them, then why can't we criticize?" Then Radha Maharaj said, "No. Even if they are feeling it like nectar, your words are like nectar to the pure devotees, but for Krishna, it's very displeasing, and that's why we don't do that." So just that all of us are speaking on the same point today.
And I find this amazing connection in today's discussion. everything, like what Taruni is saying, what Vilas Manjari is saying, what this bhajan is saying, everything is coming together like a puzzle piece for me today. It's like when people criticize us, they're taking away our bad qualities. And what do I do when people criticize me and they hurt me, they insult me? As a devotee, I pray for them, right? And by praying, what's happening? Literally, like Vilas Manjari said, scientifically, I'm cultivating the quality of forgiveness. I'm cultivating the quality of praying for the person, even if they are very critical about me. So you see how it's not an automatic in the sense like some mindless thing. It's a very mindful situation. Why we can advance immensely is because we are able to pray for them with a genuine heart. No, I really wish good for this person. Even though they are hurting me, even though they are insulting me, I actually wish for this person to advance in Krishna consciousness. I wish this person can go back to God at this lifetime. I wish this person all material opulence. Oof. Right now I'm thinking of somebody who has hurt me and it's like, it's not coming, it's not flowing. There is a little bit of an obstruction there, So it's definitely honest look at my heart. Am I able to wish well? Am I able to do that? That will be the measure of my devotional progress. Beautiful. Okay, should we continue? Somebody likes to read. Shukdev said. You want to continue, Vilas Manjari?
Yeah. Shukadeva said, at first, Brahma had forgotten how to create. He then meditated on the Virat Rupa, exactly as I have just described to you. The Supreme Lord became pleased and gave him the knowledge to rebuild everything as before. Some adherents of the Karma Mimamsa school appeared discomfited. Noticing this, Parikshit said, Jaimini's followers say it is not necessary to practice yoga and meditation to achieve success through our work. They believe that moral actions and ritual sacrifice to the gods are sufficient for success in both this and the next life. Shukadeva shook his head slightly in disagreement. The Vedic instructions regarding work are misleading. They promise worldly and heavenly pleasure to motivate materialists to act morally and to get them to acknowledge the existence of.
So let's pause here 1 minute. This point here, this is interesting. We have been discussing Virat Rupa yesterday and it came here. Brahma had forgotten how to create, then he meditated on the Virat Rupa. I was thinking the essential principle here is how the everything, the source is the Lord, and Virat Rupa reminds us that everything, the source of every literal, non-living and living and moving and non-moving thing is the Lord. So it's like that gave Brahma the empowerment to recreate. So that's amazing. Yeah. Okay. Please continue. Existence of higher power. Oh, wow. We are laughing because in recovery work, there's always this concept of higher power, like we are surrendering to the higher power. We are always we are accepting powerlessness in front of higher powers. So we laugh.
No amount of material enjoyment, however, can truly satisfy the living being, just as food eaten in a dream cannot satisfy one's hunger. Oh. From his childhood lessons with Kripacharya, Parikshit remembered an instruction Krishna had spoken to Arjuna. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains my abode never takes birth again. Even in the heavenly planets, living beings are forced to suffer the pains of birth, death, old age, and disease. How can we be happy where these miseries exist? Unadulterated permanent happiness is found only in Krishna's eternal spiritual kingdom.
Oh, how many of us want that? No, sometimes I wake up thinking, I wish all the problems would go away. I wish all this, I just wish I can just go to a place where I can just be happy without conflict, without difficulties. and this, all that. And then I'm now reading all this, and it's like slap in the face, There's no place in this material world like that. There's unadulterated permanent happiness. That's exactly what I'm hankering, That's all, we are all hankering for that. And it's permanent, right? Permanent, that word. Because nowadays everything is so temporary. We never know how we're going to feel next moment. So it's only in Krishna's spiritual kingdom. And, to enter that spiritual kingdom, what we require is not just external sadhana, waking up early. And see, even this Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, it's a principle, right? And we can see it in a religious way. Read Bhagavatam, read scriptures, chant the holy name. But actually, I'm experiencing the transformation. I'm so grateful to all of you who made me start this study group, because it's literally rewriting my beliefs. It's literally changing my perspective about how to set my goals. And I'm feeling like how transformational this point is. What does it mean? And what Taruni Radha said also, I'm subscribing to this idea that one thing is like sitting in a class as a passive listener, listening to the realizations of the speaker. Another thing is to be participatory in a study group where you are given the space and you can actually share your mind and express your doubts. And it's very priceless. It's very priceless. So please don't consider this as me giving Bhagavatam class. You are all very quiet, so I comment. But any of you are welcome to ask questions. That's what makes this group transformational. Your questions triggers and churns my realizations. And when you all share also, when you're sharing your realization, it brings me immense amount of inspiration to change the way I live, to change the way I think. Like today I've been taken aback. I don't know, taken aback is not a positive thing to say, right? I'm swept off my feet. How beautifully Taruni was saying about that, how seamlessly she said, praying for others it's so comforting. It brings so much solace. No? And I was like, wow. It's like, wow. It feels attractive. I want that. I want to be there. I want to follow that. So you all inspire me every time you're asking questions or every time you're sharing your realization. So please don't consider this as a class. It's a study group. We are all sharing whatever comes up to us. And I take liberty because, I don't know why I take liberty. I take liberty to comment more. Okay. Anybody likes to read? Somebody else likes to volunteer to read?
Shall I read, Mataji?
In the previous page, still a little bit more.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Yes, yes, please read from Parikshit looked at the followers.
Parikshit looked at the followers of Karma Mimamsa, who advocated worship of the Devas and elevation to heaven. If only they could understand the temporality of material happiness.
So the Karma Mimamsa who advocated worship of Devas and elevation. Actually, this is a whole totality of Hinduism, people. That story, that thing. They were the three people. The three people was Muslim, Christian, and Hindu guy. They were all standing on top of the mountain, and each one said, "My God is more greater." And so then the Muslim guy said, "Allahu Akbar," and Inshallah, and he jumped off the mountain. Allah came and saved him. I mean, this is a kind of a joke thing, but it's a very common explanation about Hinduism. And then the Christian guy said, Jesus Christ superstar. I don't know what he exactly said. He said something and then he jumped off. And then Christ came and saved him. And then the Hindu guy started there, Vakratunda Mahakarya Surya Koti Samaprabha Om Durgaya Namaha Om Shivaya Namaha. He started all the names of all the demigods and worship of the Devas and who knows, Indra, Chandra, Devendra, all people. And then he jumped and nobody came and saved him and he died. And then he went to heaven or wherever he went. Then he asked these same gods that he was worshipping, what happened? Why you didn't come to save me? And so they all said, we were not sure who you were calling. I thought the other one will come, the other one will come. I mean, it sounds funny, but here it says temporality. How do you pronounce it? Temporality of material happiness. So these demigods are only able to give as much as Krishna allows them to give the benedictions. But the difference is, let me tell you a secret here. I love Mahadev, Lord Shiva. I love Parvati. I like the whole family. In fact, I love that family picture of Shiva, Parvati, Ganesh, and Kartikeya with their respective vahanas, Nandi, and then the tiger, and then the peacock, and then the mouse. Because this represents something very devotional. So the devotional principle is that we are all of different natures, but just as that family, they're so Krishna conscious, they're so devoted to spiritual advancement, even though they are all so different in nature. And the nature's differentiation is seen by their vahanas. Nandi and tiger don't get along. If you really put a bull and a tiger in front of each other, they'll kill each other. They'll bite each other off. They'll fight like anything. If you put a mouse and a peacock in front of each other, the peacock will kill the mouse. So each of those vahanas are incompatible in the material world. But actually, because they are in the spiritual realm and consciousness, the differences and the incompatibilities are harmonized because of devotional service. They are all devotees of the Lord. I mean, I come from Madhva Sampradaya. We have so many hundreds of songs about Mahadev, Lord Shiva. We have so many Vaishnav songs, I'm saying. Vaishnav songs glorifying Durga Devi and her service to the Lord, and Mahadev's service to Krishna, and how Ganesha, there's a beautiful Harikatamrita Sara, there's a whole, I mean, those of you interested in Kannada verses and all, we can sometime do that. It's so beautiful. I learned that about Vigneshwara Sandhi. There are these beautiful sandhis, and one of them is about Lord Ganesh as the devotee of Krishna, and all the qualities that he holds as a devotee, and how he can actually give us the benediction to remove obstacles on our path, because he has Lord Nrsimha's lotus feet on his head. And then Kartikeya also, there is one song, maybe some of you South Indians may have heard. There is a beautiful song which says, Krishna also comes in that. It's a song about Kartikeya. Kartikeya is a devotee of Krishna. He's a commander in chief. So Krishna chose Kartikeya when he was just 7 days old to be the commander in chief for the Devatas. So there is a whole description of how Kartikeya's devotional service to the Devatas also. So that picture, I have that picture in my house in the entrance. We're supposed to have in the entrance this family, which reminds us that we will live in this house with all incompatible natures, but we will all harmonize that in service of the Lord. So that is devotional service. That is Srimad Bhagavatam, where demons and demigods can come together for a mission, and where we can cultivate an amazing attitude of service. So this Karma Mimamsha is exactly the opposite, in the sense it's about Karma Mimamsha. It's not devotional service. So what I'm saying is, a potato or a tomato can either be material. You can put some onion and garlic masala to that and eat it and it will become karma. Or you can cut that potato and make air fry French fries and offer to the Lord, and it becomes Mahaprasadam. So worship of the Devatas is also very thin line there. If you worship them as temporary demigods, giving benedictions, material benedictions, they are bothered. Mahadev doesn't like you to go and bother him with material desires. But if you go to him and say, please give me, like you are always chanting the holy names. Shri Ram Govinda Mukunda Shauri, Shri Krishna Narayana Vasudeva, Ityadi Namamrita Panamatta, Bringadipaya Khila Dukka Hantre. This is a Sanskrit Shiva Ashtottara composed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu only composed 2 things, Shikshashtakam and Shivashtakam. And in this Shivashtakam, he's begging Mahadev to give that taste for the holy name, taste for the pastimes of the Lord. So if you worship Mahadev as a devotee, he will not be bothered. He will immediately give us benedictions to advance in devotional life. Same with all the devatas. If we understand their position, and we actually pray for the right things as a considering them and knowing them and realizing them as devotees of Krishna, we will immensely advance in our devotional life. So why I am bringing this up is, don't make the mistake of demigod worship. Don't do that offense. You can see them as demigods, or you can see them as devotees of Krishna. Okay, because if you see them as demigods, everything they give us is material, temporary, material things only. But if we see them as devotees, they are immensely helpful. Mahadev can give us very good husband that can help us in devotional life. Durga Devi can, there's something called Durga Suladi. It's so beautiful. It's in Kannada. This is like Jagannatha Dasaru wrote it. All the Suladis are there. And Durga Suladi is like a must in Madhva Sampradaya for all women to recite it. Because, it starts like this. Durga Durgaye Maha Dushta Jana Samhare Durgantargata Durge Durlabhe Sulabhe Durgamavagide Ninna Mahime Bamma Vargadigaligalla Gunisidaru. It's a beautiful verses speaking about how she protects us from Maya, how she protects us from negative thinking, how she actually, that fortress, she's Durga, she's that fort. I can share that link with those of you interested. Of course, translation is not available. I'm still figuring out the translation of some of those things, although I know the language. It's a very traditional Kannada. It's just mind-blowing. I memorized that whole thing. I don't recite every day, but if women recite that, we will be given that ability to discriminate reality from illusion, negative thinking from positive affirmations, and rise above being a woman bodily concept of life. By the way, it's not only for women, even men can chant Durga Suladi. What I'm saying is, these are amazingly empowered personalities. Whenever I go to Simant Dweep, we have Simantini Devi here. I recite this because she's sitting right at the lotus feet of Mahaprabhu, and this verses are befitting, that songs are befitting, perfectly explaining her service, her powers, how she covers the jivas, and how she can either push us towards Krishna in a favorable way, or anyway push us towards Krishna. Oh, sorry. Yes, go ahead, Vilas Manjari. I don't know what happened to this now.
Yeah, you answered, I think. So Durga Devi, when she protects, she's Yogamaya. When she protects from, and when she puts us in illusion, Mahamaya, right? Yeah, okay.
But our song ali en chanagide gotta. It's like, oof. It's like solace. I feel the solace from all these bhajans, Yeah.
I really like to read the glories of Durga Ma in that Kannada.
You can do that.
Because I want to override my impression of Mahamaya.
Yes, actually, Adral Bharatte, in that bhajan, it comes that in that bhajan, actually it comes that we are supposed to see her as a devotee, and the qualities of her. It comes about our perspective needs to change about seeing her. Tumba chanagide. It's very beautiful. So I think we should end here for today. The Lord in the heart. Let us meditate. Let us meditate. Hridaya kamaladali na ninna pada padumavane nevante mado yadurajadiraja sudarushanadhara yadurajadiraja idane kripe mado madana pita. So this is a bhajan saying, may I meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord who is situated in my heart. Hridaya kamaladali. And the lotus of our heart is the Supreme Lord. dictating all our doings, all the inspirations, giving us knowledge, remembrance, intelligence, and forgetfulness of those things that we don't need to remember. So let's meditate on that Lord who's so mercifully seated in our hearts. And let us give up all the material desires that are unfavorable for our devotional service. And let us hanker to see the world as if Krishna sees it, as everything is Krishna conscious, everything is going towards Krishna, everything is a progression to find back the connection, and Krishna's ways to find us because we are lost in this world. So with this meditation, let us carry in our hearts the faith and the desire to keep our hearts clean, to keep our hearts with great principles from Srimad Bhagavatam, principles of forgiveness towards other living entities, forgiveness towards ourselves for our mistakes, tolerance and patience while we are advancing in Krishna consciousness, and the ability to not take credit, to not judge others, and to be open to Krishna's plans, and to enjoy in Krishna consciousness, and to learn our lessons joyfully. Because when we are learning our lessons joyfully, the ride becomes smoother. And I'm very grateful to all of you. Please keep studying like this. You can always study with another person. You can connect with any of us in the outreach group if you want to share something. I encourage you to do that. And let's take these principles of Bhagavatam to lighten our lives, both ways, light up our life and also to lighten the burdens of our life. And please, anytime, you're welcome to participate, to comment, to ask questions, to share realizations in our study group. Thank you.
Thank you. How wonderful, beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mataji. It was really very encouraging. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajeshri.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Mataji. So beautifully you said. Hare Krishna.